What's up, my little enzymes? Welcome back to Dacia's Digest. The topic of today's video is cash and kin. So we will be going over some Reddit stories that have to do with money and family. And yeah, we have 3 and they all have updates. Just a reminder, if you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I believe some of you are watching my videos on a regular but aren't actually subscribed. So just double check. And I think that's it. All of the links of anything that you might want to know about this video are going to be in the description, and let's get into it. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents to keep all the money they stole from me while I was in university and shove it up their butt? I got a job while I was in high school. It was with a friend of my father. I put away most of the money and just bought myself some stuff I wanted, but my parents wouldn't buy for me. My parents aren't rich, but they do well enough. They wanted me to appreciate that material goods were paid for with my time. I didn't mind. I bought myself a PS4 and some games, which they made me share with my younger brother and sister. Once again, I didn't mind. I mostly played while they did homework or slept. When I graduated from high school, they said I had to start paying rent. That's crazy to me. That sucked because I was going to university in the fall and I was hoping to save up over the summer so I could work less during the school year. So I worked my butt off in school and at work. I ended up getting a job loading delivery trucks before school. That's crazy to me that the parents are making him pay rent. It's not like he's planning on living there long term. He's literally just there for the summer before he goes to college, and you're making him pay rent. Are you that broke that you're making your child pay rent at 17, 18 years old? That doesn't make sense to me. I could see if he had like no plans for the future, wasn't trying to go anywhere, wasn't trying to get out the house or anything, then okay, maybe we can like visit that conversation. But as soon as he graduates, oh, now you gotta start paying bills. It's giving broke. It's giving broke. I ended up getting a job loading delivery trucks before school, and that sucked because I went to sleep at 7 p.m. most nights so I could get up early and go to work. I am about to graduate and I found another job in another province. Wait a minute. Was he paying rent while he was going through school? Was he living at home and having to pay rent while he was... I mean, I guess technically, like if he were to be living on campus or at college, he would have had to pay rent anyway. So I guess I get that, but it just gives me the ick. I feel like if my child was doing what they needed to do, had a job, was going to school, etc., but they just wanted to live home, I would just let them live at home. Like, why not try to give your child a leg up in the world, save as much money as they can, so then they could be set up for success when they finally leave the house? But instead you're making, I just wouldn't do it that way, but I'm not having kids, so. I have already started doing my onboarding and online training. I will go from graduation to loading my car to leave. My parents had a graduation party for me where they tried to present me with a check for all the rent I paid, plus a pittance in interest. Pittance. Wow, that is a word. A small amount. Okay, so they actually didn't spend the money on rent. They saved it up, basically. But why? They could have just been upfront about That's kind of annoying. They could have just been upfront with the fact that, because now they're basically taking control of, I don't know, I just don't like, I see what they're trying to do. I don't really like how they went about that. He said, I looked at the check for about a minute and I started laughing. All I could think of was the fact that I had no social life during university because I was working. I didn't have any money in investments like my friends did because they were taking my money. I asked them how they were doing this for my sister. They said they weren't since she wasn't working while she went to school. What? So he's being punished because he decided to work? I tore up the check and told them to shove it up their butt. I told them that when they compensated me for all the sleep I lost, 4 years of no social life during university, and 4 summer vacations, I would speak to them again. I told my little brother not to get a job or they would mess him over too. I went to my room, grabbed my computer, some clothes, my PS4, and my toiletries. My brother and sister can play on the PS5 my parents bought the family. They were yelling at me the whole time. I said if they touched me or tried to stop me, I would call the cops. I loaded up my car that I paid for, I insure, and is registered to me. I drove to my friend's parents' house and had a bit of a breakdown. They let me stay there since she is away at university in another city. I blocked my parents and my brother and sister. I had already given notice at my job, so I called my boss and told him I was sick and would not be available for my last week. He said he understood and laughed. He said he was surprised I had kept working this close to graduation. My grandfather called me to talk a couple of days later. We went to Timmy's and he let me unload everything I felt. They took money from me that I could have used to make my life better. I didn't even have time for a girlfriend. My entire university romantic life was hooking up with a woman I work with when her ex-husband had the kids for the weekend. Now, you ain't have to do that. You ain't have to do that, OP. I'm sure there was plenty of other women. You was in college. I'm pretty sure there was other options you had. Other than a married mom. Oh, ex-husband. Okay, ex-husband. She wasn't married. Okay. He said my parents' hearts were in the right place and that they thought they were helping me. I said they owed me for 4 years of fun, of parties I was too tired to go to, of social events and networking I didn't do, all the stuff they were subsidizing for my sister, and that they would end up subsidizing for my brother. He said he understood and hugged me. He is old, but I couldn't have gotten free of that hug if I tried. He asked me if I needed money to start my new job. I said I did not want anything that came from my parents. He gave me a cashier's check for about 3 times what my parents took from me. Oh, okay, Grandpa. He said to use it however I wanted in my new life. He said it wasn't part of my inheritance or anything. It was a gift from him and something my grandma would have wanted me to have. Wow, that's very generous. My friends think I was stupid to tear up the check. Most of them agree with me about being pissed at my parents. Some family have called me to say I behaved terribly and that I owe my parents an apology. I thank them for the call or message and block them. I'm calmer now and I do not think I am in the wrong, but maybe I'm too close to see what I'm missing. Am I the a-hole? That's tough. I say no. I say no because if the parents knew all along that they were just going to give him the money back, I feel like they should have given him that agency over his life versus making that decision for them. It wasn't their place to save his money for him. Like he said, he could have put money into investments, or he could have just not worked like his sister plans on doing or his brother plans on doing. If they're going to subsidize the other kid's life, why couldn't they subsidize his life so that he could have more freedom to do more college age appropriate things, have a social life, not have to worry about work and all this? You had him stressed out for 4 years and you just over there. Like, I understand their hearts were in the right place and they were probably thinking like he was going to be so happy. Like, oh yeah, at the end of this, he's going to get this big check. He's going to be able to like start his life, whatever. I understand the sentiment, but the way they did it, like, I understand why he's upset. I would be upset too if I was struggling through 4 years and at the end of it, they're like, oh, actually, you didn't have to work. You didn't have to put in all those hours. Somebody said, who the freak is your granddad? And does he want another grandson? He sounds awesome. Someone else said, just a note, invite your grandpa to visit you once you have a place. Take him to dinner, talk about life, go see movies or music together. No one ever does that for older family members, and he sounds a little lonely for his wife. Not the a-hole. That's a good idea. Someone said, not the a-hole in the least. There is a line between teaching a child the value of hard work versus grinding them into the ground. $750 a month in rent $750. They had him paying $750 a month in rent. I don't know why he could have. I don't know why he stayed. He could have gotten a dorm or something, like on-campus housing, probably for that much. I'm trying to think of like how much I paid when I was in college. It was probably around $750 a month in rent that they did not need is cruel and unkind. And meanwhile, they were buying PS5s for the family, so it's clear that this lesson they claim you needed to learn isn't one they feel the younger kids need. Work isn't inherently good. My spouse's neck and knees are permanently messed up from low-wage work his parents insisted he do to build his character. He's in pain every day and will be for the rest of his life. But hey, he got a job. Freaking Puritan attitudes like that need to die. I'm sorry your parents tried to teach you responsibility in the worst way possible. Edit to add, and I'm seeing from your other comments that you paid your own tuition and they made you buy your own food. I'm genuinely in awe that you managed to graduate at all. Full-time school, full-time work, and full-time self-care is so hard, and I can only imagine how their draconian methods hurt your grades and networking, which can sometimes be more valuable than the degree itself. I wish you all the best in the future. Please know that your best years are ahead of you, and there's still much joy to experience. And never let anyone convince you that just because some people have it hard, you therefore deserved to have it hard as well. You deserve loved ones who try to make your life better, not harmful people who erect unnecessary obstacles to haze you. I completely agree, because I'm not saying the parents had any obligation to pay his bills or pay his tuition or anything like that. I don't believe that parents do have that obligation. But if you're going to knowingly take his money and watch him struggle to teach him a lesson about working hard and whatever, but just to give it back, like that part, boy, I would be pissed. Let me try to calculate how much the grandpa gave him. He said he gave him 3 times. So $750 a month times 12 months in a year times 4 years. That's $36,000. And he said his grandpa gave him 3 times? Is that right? 108,000? Is that correct? Did I read that right? Let me go to the second update. This was 3 days after the first one. Update on telling my parents to shove their money. Not sure why, but my other throwaway got deleted. I took a lot of what you guys had to say to heart. I unblocked my family and spoke with my parents. I agreed to meet with them for lunch today. We went to the keg and talked. They said they didn't realize how I felt for those 4 years. My mom cried and said she was very sorry that I felt like they didn't care about me. I guess they read my post from before it got taken down, and they are disturbed by what I wrote. They are also upset that my girlfriend is a single mom, 14 years older than me. They asked if they could meet her, and I said no. They offered me the check again, and this time I took it and thanked them. I said I would come home later. After lunch, I went to the bank and deposited it. Since we all bank at the same branch, it was easy to cash it. I made sure that the money was in my account. Then I blocked them again. Savage. Oh man. I just wrote my girlfriend a check for $4,312 to help her out. It was the interest on the money, more or less. She is a decent person and she taught me a lot. She works her butt off loading trucks and she deserves something good in her life. I know that isn't me. I am seeing my grandfather tomorrow. I'm going to make sure he knows what I did and why. I'm also going to invite him out to see my new place once I move out west. I'm spending the weekend at my girlfriend's house since her ex has kids. Thank you all for your help and advice. He said I can forgive, but I'll never forget. Oh my goodness. He took the check and blocked them again. That is funny. Somebody said, I hope your move goes well and you start healing. Keep in contact with your grandpa. He sounds like a stand-up dude. Maybe in time you'll want a relationship with your siblings, and he can help facilitate that if necessary. I'm glad you got your money, because it was freaking yours. Back in your account too. Opie said, I loved giving away their interest. I only have what was rightfully mine, and she will use it well. And then someone else said, I was absolutely blasted on your original post for suggesting you take the money and then block your parents again. Glad you got what you were owed and now can move on with the satisfaction of knowing you did this after all they have put you through. Opie said, I'm pretty sure you planted the germ of the idea in my brain. I don't know. I think after, me personally, well, it might take some time, but after seeing how the parents didn't really realize what they were doing and like they seemed to be genuinely remorseful and sorry for how everything played out, after a while, I think I'll be able to forgive them. But right now it's fresh. And so I understand. But me personally, like maybe after a while I could. But then again, I don't know. That's to be struggling for all those years and to know that you didn't even have to struggle. That's the part. Parents just need to let their kids make their own decisions. Like once they're an adult, your job basically is done. At that point, you should have taught them everything that they need to know to be successful in the world, and you need to trust that you taught them well enough for them to succeed. You can't keep trying to play the puppet master after that. Like you need to let them just do what they gonna do. My last update on my parents, my money, my grandpa, and my girlfriend. Tuesday is my convocation. I gave the tickets to my grandfather and my girlfriend. I think convocation is graduation, right? Yeah. Wednesday, I'm taking a flight home and never coming back here for any reason other than to see my grandfather. My grandpa came out to see my new apartment, and I took him for a drive from my new city down to another, then through the mountains and home. He had never seen the Rockies before. My parents are pissed that they will not get to see me graduate, but since they had nothing to do with my success thus far in my life, they don't deserve it. I got some great advice from this sub and the other one. I will start seeing a therapist when I get to the city where I will be working, not to reconcile with my parents or anything, just to deal with my hatred and maybe get to a better place. I left my old phone at my parents' house, and I have a new phone number that only my grandpa, my friend, her parents, and my girlfriend know. If I get a call from my parents, I will ditch it and just have my grandfather know my number. I have been lurking on Reddit and cannot believe how many other parents think this is the right way to deal with kids. If you do this, please choke. So yeah, still angry, still cutting those useless people out of my life. Happy to be moving forward. Thanks for reading this and for the advice. All of you that agreed with my parents, I hope you do better with your kids. If not, you deserve what you get. Yeah, like I said, I pretty much have said all I need to say on that, but I do not agree with how the parents handled that situation at all. And then especially like to add salt to the wound, him being like, well, is my brother gonna have to do this? And they're like, oh no, he doesn't have to. We just did that to you because you were working. So you punishing me because I'm being responsible and working. It doesn't make sense. Next, my husband is mad that I refused to give my stepdaughter a cash gift after graduating from high school like I did with my stepson and later with my daughter. Hi, I am a 43-year-old woman. I have one daughter, 18. Her father left us when I was pregnant with her. I own a small company in interior design and it's very successful in my country. I make a very good living, and I met my husband, 55, about 8 years ago. He moved in with me 7 years ago, and we got married 2 years ago in a private ceremony. My husband has 2 children from a previous marriage, boy 20 and a girl 19. Both my stepchildren hated me and my daughter in the beginning of the relationship. When my husband asked them how they'd feel about him moving together with me, they both initially hated the idea and told him that if he did it, they would just stay permanently with their mother. After a while, my husband moved in anyway and said to them that they were welcome should they change their mind. They did after seeing the big house with the pool and all the great accommodations. The boy started liking us gradually and we're on great terms now. The daughter, not so much. She was horrible to me and my daughter, and one day when she was 13 to 14, I heard her making fun of my daughter's weight and looks to her face. Dang! I was livid. I have suffered with a poor relationship with food growing up because of bullying, so I knew how dangerous that was. I knew how my daughter must have felt, so I told my husband that stepdaughter was never allowed to live in my house again. My stepdaughter tried to apologize, and she was sobbing, but I didn't budge. I had too long of an experience with bullies that I knew it just got worse when they got confronted and had to apologize, and I wasn't going to take the risk. So she moved permanently with her mother. My initial plan was to break up, actually, but this was my husband's idea. She still bullied my daughter in school. They didn't go to the same high school, but my stepdaughter had friends in my daughter's class that did her bidding. Wow, that's terrible. I found out about all of this about a year ago. My daughter was embarrassed to tell us, and she thought she could manage her bullies. It broke my heart, and I felt so guilty that my baby didn't dare to confide in me. Uni is free in my country. Students often take student loans with almost zero interest and work part-time jobs while studying to make ends meet, but the education is free. When my stepson started uni, however, I gave him 100,000 euros so he didn't have to work or anything and just concentrate on his studies. Engineering. She sounds like she does well for herself. She got a nice house with a pool, just handed over 100K to her stepson like it was nothing. He was so grateful, but told us that he wasn't sure he could be trusted with a large sum, so my husband is handling his money, making monthly payments. I am planning to do the same with my daughter. Stepdaughter graduated with great marks, and she's started medical school this year. She asked her father about her 100K, and he came to ask me. I was confused because before I gifted my stepson, I asked my husband if I could do it, and the reason was because I wasn't planning on doing the same thing with my stepdaughter. He told me I could do what I wanted, and it wasn't weird at all because my stepson and I had a great relationship, and he always saw me as a second mom. He got really mad and told me that my stepdaughter had changed a lot, but it wasn't true at all. Although she wasn't living with us anymore, she made sure to make our lives a living heck every time she visited, and even got physical with me and my daughter. If she started playing nice now, it was only because there was money involved, and I knew that, and my husband knew that too. I even told him that she called me that B word, and even in the phone, my number was saved under that B word. He is now very angry. He hasn't talked to me in over a week. He's saying I'm using my money to control their lives and that he's heartbroken. If I don't have enough money for both daughters, I can split my daughter's share between them since my daughter isn't even sure she wants to start college right away. And let's face it, she will likely never get into medical school. His words. Maybe if I did it, stepdaughter would be more grateful and be closer to my daughter. I don't know what to do. I feel like I don't owe my stepdaughter anything. My daughter and I have suffered enough because of her ways. She could still do like the rest of her peers, work and take loans, and she has a bright future ahead of her. There may be some truth in his words about me using my money as a reward or punishment. I am ashamed, but still defiant. I should do what I want with my money. Oh, Lord. First of all, I need more details on the nature of their relationship because husband sounds like a little bit of a, I don't know. I'm just now noticing that I don't want to judge the relationship. But it seems like the wife is sort of more well off than the husband, which is ironic because he's 12 years older than her. And it's funny that he's saying she's trying to control them. Really, it's the opposite of control because she's not trying to contribute monetarily to the stepdaughter's life at all. So she would have no control. She wouldn't be able to say like, oh, well, since you don't want to do this, you're not getting any more money. There's no factor of money exchanging hands at all. So like, how is he saying she's trying to control? It just sounds like not surprisingly, wants his daughter to have the same experience that the son is able to have, but that's just not what it is. And also, the way he's talking, I would have to make sure that the son is actually getting the payments he's supposed to be getting and how they're being divided up. Because Something don't sound right. It's almost like he taking a little bit off the top for himself, and that's why he's so upset. Anyway, I don't agree. I don't think she's an a-hole at all. And she purposely had the conversation about giving the money before she even did it, just to make sure like everybody was on the same page. And I'm assuming the husband acted like he was on the same page, but in the back of his mind, he was like, oh, in the future, like it'll be different. She'll change her mind, etc. No. Someone said, so your husband has been just sitting around waiting for you to pay for both his kids? What a charmer. And Opie said he pays alimony and paid child support. Someone else said, that's good, but it sounds like he expects his daughter to receive the same treatment as his son and your daughter. He knows she hasn't treated you or your daughter well and has been a bully to both of you. What makes him think she deserves anything, and why does he not insist she treat you both better? Why does he think you owe her anything? Someone replied, where was he when his stepdaughter was being bullied? Where was he when his wife was struggling with her relationship with his daughter? Where was he when boundaries needed to be drawn with his daughter? Where is he in this whole post except as a side character? Edit, I went back and read some of her responses, and I suggest everyone else does too. This husband is a huge part of the problem. For example, in one post, she says that he told her that she stops his daughter from coming because it's her house, but if it was his house, he would have her come, despite the fact that his daughter harmed her and severely harms OP's daughter regularly. It's like he doesn't care about his wife. Wow. Someone said it's not like he doesn't care. He doesn't, nor does he care about his stepdaughter. This dude sounds like a piece of work. Someone else said, you know this man is just with you for your money, right? You may want to reconsider that whole breaking up plan you had. Opie said, maybe he is. He never showed anything like that before. Yeah, I was kind of getting those vibes too. I'm not going to lie. He moved in only a year after. This man is 12 years older than you. If anything, y'all should have been getting like a new place together maybe. Put your house as like a rental property or, you know, something. But I'm making a huge assumption, but it seems financially, lifestyle-wise, OP is on a different level than her husband. Huge assumption, but that's what the vibe I'm getting from this. Someone said, well, think about it logically. If your children told you they would never see you again if you moved in with a man, what would you do? I'll take a wild guess and say you would end it, right? Well, he didn't. So we've already established he's a bad dad who doesn't actually care about his children's best interests. Next, his kids didn't want to move in with you until they realized you were rich. Kids often learn these morals from their parents. So what does it tell you that both kids were suddenly okay with things and the stepdaughter threw a fit about leaving the home of a woman she hated simply because you have nice things? Maybe that they were raised by someone who has a particular interest in the finer things in life. Continuation of point 1. When it came to picking his child or picking your money, again, he picked you with the money and permanently kicked his kid out. What the heck? Finally, now that you've said you won't give her any money, he's trying to pretend he's a good father. But we've already established twice he doesn't actually give a crap about his kid's best interest. And given he's the one in charge of his son's money, it stands to reason he'd probably expect the same. Even if he didn't, again, he's only willing to be a good dad when that involves taking your money. If it involves giving up your money though, oh no, his kids can go rot for all he cares. They making some good points here. And I guess one last point, he wanted you to give up providing for your actual child to provide for his, and even decided to insult your kid. So that brings me back to my first point. If you were in a situation where you had to choose between a man and your kid, who would you choose? Because you seem like you'd choose your kid, even before you realize he's just in it for the money. Remember, truly manipulative people, you never see it coming. That sounds too much like right. Someone else said he can ask his son to share his money with his sister, or he can provide her with some money. He is basically asking you to try to buy your stepdaughter's affection, and you're saying you don't think that's a good investment with probable returns. Opie said he already tried. Stepson was furious. He's not on good terms with his sister. Someone else said, your stepson may want to put a lock on his account, if you don't have access, to stop his dad transferring money to the sister behind his back. I wouldn't put it past him. And please make sure your own will is ironclad. You would be rewarding bullies if you gave your stepdaughter the cash. And no, it wouldn't foster a more positive relationship. Your daughter would likely just feel very upset that her nemesis is being rewarded by her own mom, and it'll damage that relationship. Don't do that. Opie said, I have no access to my stepson's money. I don't think my husband would do something like that, but maybe I need to tell my stepson that he needs to be more cautious. Do I even have the right to do that? Girl, yes! You provided the money. It's your money. I mean, granted, it's technically stepson's money, but you have someone else who's not trustworthy handling. I wouldn't have even given him that right. I would have tried to set up some sort of like recurring direct deposit or something that comes out of like a specific bank account that has the money in it to automatically go to the stepson, because the husband does not sound like he can be trusted at all. One more comment. Wow, I'm so sorry. Honestly, the stepdaughter sounds like a total nightmare, and I can't believe she used people to bully a younger girl at a different school. That's horrid. And she proves you were right that once you confronted stepdaughter about the bullying, it would in fact get worse for your daughter. I think it's absolutely insane that anyone would expect you to drop that much money on someone who will obviously treat you and your daughter like crap. I know it's hard on your husband, but I think you are more than fair. You paid for your stepson, built a relationship. She isn't entitled to the same just because she wants money. You aren't controlling their lives. It sounds like your husband has let your stepdaughter run out of control. You aren't being controlling, not dropping $100K on a kid that will bully yours into social isolation and a poor relationship with food. Why does she get special treatment over your son and your stepdaughter? I hope you don't pay for her school. This stuff will never end if you give in now. Next, it'll be her wedding. Her house, just gross. Edit, if she's literally laid hands on you and your daughter, I wouldn't let her near you or your money. She sounds like if she doesn't get a reality check, she will just keep growing into a monster. And Opie said yes about getting physical. She pushed my daughter so hard that my daughter stumbled and fell over the Christmas tree 2 years ago. She said she didn't mean it. My daughter was in her way and she didn't see her. She didn't know that I was watching the whole time. She even laughed when my daughter fell. She wasn't allowed in our house on holidays afterwards. She literally slapped me in the face when she was 14. What the heck? That's what my husband says, that I have kicked her out and forbidden her from visiting on many occasions, and his experience is that because I own the house, I'm doing this. I wouldn't be able to do the same if it was his or our joint house. I don't see it like that at all. I always made it clear my daughter came first, and if I had to choose between our relationship and my daughter, I choose my daughter. In his mind, that's extortion. He can't even use that excuse because the stepson was able to stay there with no problem. So it's not the fact that it's her house and she's doing whatever he thinks she's trying to do. It's the stepdaughter. It's your daughter, sir. That's the problem. Goodness gracious. Update. Hi, I have now talked to both my husband and my stepdaughter, so I thought I should share it with you if you're interested. But before that, I want to say I'm very disgusted, although not surprised, by the amount of people who actually took a bully's side. What I wrote in my first post wasn't just one-off incidents. Anyone with more than 3 brain cells should have understood I wasn't going to write 8 years worth of bullying and bad behavior in one post to convince bully apologists to understand why I did what I did. Many also talked about how we as parents have failed the bully. I don't know how, since the two other children we raised turned out to be decent human beings with a lot of empathy for others around them. I only wish everyone who defends bullies or tries to explain away their horrible, life-scarring behavior to never have had to deal with one in their or their children's lives and feel the pain they can inflict on others. I do not regret any of my actions. I saw my stepdaughter for what she was, and I acted instinctively. Her young age played little to no role in my decision to protect my baby. My daughter was and still is my sole priority. I decided that I should try to confront my stepdaughter directly instead of communicating through her via my husband or text, so I asked her around for tea. She accepted immediately, which was a first. She showed up last Sunday. I sat her and my husband down and just bluntly asked her why she should expect any financial help from me when she hated my guts. She got defensive and said that she didn't ask me, she asked her dad. I told her that I knew she wasn't stupid, and she well knew that stepson got his gift from me and not their father. She said, "What's the difference? You're married." I told her the difference is that stepson treated me and daughter as family while she always hated us. Bullied her little stepsister even in high school. She was shocked here because she didn't know that I found out about the high school bullying. And I asked her if she would give money to someone she knew hated her half of the amount that she hated me, and why then she expected me to do that. She started crying and apologizing. I told her I wasn't the one she should be apologizing to. I told her that I wished her great success and happiness, but that I won't be helping her financially through her education. My husband was silent the whole time. When she left, I told him to never compare our daughters again, making my daughter to be the inferior one just because she wasn't as academically successful as her stepsister. I trusted my daughter and wanted her to be happy, and if she wants to study in a less prestigious school, so be it. Her happiness is the most important thing to me, and I didn't appreciate him dragging her and comparing her to others when none of what has happened has anything to do with her. He tried to apologize and told me he just wanted to help his daughter. I told him he's free to do that however he wanted, just not on my daughter's expense. We have been civil to each other ever since, although he's a bit cold towards me, but hopefully he's just ashamed of this whole episode. I will give him some space because honestly, I need some time to myself to think things over. Thank you for listening. Girl, you need to get rid of that man. He said it himself. He just wanted to help his daughter. He doesn't care about anything else but his own selfish interests. He couldn't even answer to the way that his daughter has been acting. Completely silent during the whole conversation, like wasn't holding her accountable for her actions or anything. He just cared about getting her some money, which is understandable as a parent, but like, you should also be making sure your kids are good people. Someone said, so when's the divorce party? Opie said, oh gosh, I have been thinking nonstop about our future together. I don't want to make any rash decisions while agitated. I think having my space is a good start for now. A few commenters thought that OP handled it wrong and should not have turned her back on the stepdaughter. And she said, it was my struggling child or her abuser. It was a very easy choice. I hope you do the same for yours. And also, it's not as if she's turning her back. The girl still has parents. She technically has no obligation to the stepdaughter whatsoever. I would not help anyone who is only around me literally for what they can get from me. Someone who has been harmful for years and years and years, who has a track record, and now is only trying to be nice so they can get some money from me. Yeah, forget that. Let her daddy take care of her. Dang, she deleted her account. Okay, well, that's the end of that. Let's go to the next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting a say on how my wife spends her inheritance? Interesting. We've been married for about 4 years and have no children. She just will be receiving a 6-figure inheritance from a late family member. She's making plans to buy a new car, take us on a vacation, looking at high-end clothing and purses. She really wants this $10,000 Italian purse, so it'll probably be the first thing she'll buy, and a French bulldog. I'm apprehensive with her plans. We're 3 years into a 25-year mortgage. I told her we should use the majority of her inheritance to pay down that mortgage, since that'll save us hundreds of thousands in interest. She still owes about $60,000 in student loans, which I think she should pay off. I think she should splurge a little but invest the remaining in a mutual fund for a rainy day. Her argument is that the mortgage and her student loan payments are scheduled, and she/we scheduled them because she/we can comfortably pay those payments. She also argues there's nothing safe about the market, even with mutual funds, so she could lose it all and will never again be able to afford her dream purse. She said she's been driving the same car since college and it's almost 10 years old. Lastly, she said it's her inheritance, and while she'll listen to my suggestions, she gets final say on how it will be spent. We've been discussing this and going around in circles for days. While I do understand it's her money, I can't help but think of the hundreds on thousands of dollars we'd be saving in interest. That's a tough one. I don't have a lot of experience in marriage, being that I never have been married. I guess it depends on how you guys split your finances. It sounds like you do everything pretty much together, like kind of like a traditional marriage where everything is we, because you're saying we, you're using she/we language. I say she goes to a financial advisor. Like, I personally, like, if I was in this situation, I wouldn't try to put too much of my input in it. Obviously, it would be nice if she put a lot of the money to the mortgage. Obviously, it would be nice if she paid down her loans, but I would probably approach it as like being unattached to the outcome, because if you keep that in your head, like all this money we could be saving in interest, then it's gonna build resentment over time and you just gotta let it go. But I do think maybe instead of you trying to push like your own agenda, because you're saying what you think would be the best idea, there might be other better ideas of how to spend the money better than what you could think. It's all, but maybe if she goes to a financial advisor, sort of like a third party who can talk to her and maybe talk some sense into her, she can get some not better advice. Like, I see what you're saying. I'm not saying your suggestions are bad. I think what I'm trying to say is, like, coming from you is not gonna hit as much as if it comes from an actual like financial advisor. So if it were me, I would say, hey, look, I know you're excited. Why don't you just give yourself a couple days to process, meet with a financial advisor. Let's see what they say. Let's see if they have any input on the best way that we can make this money go further, and then go from there. Now, if she just really like, no, I want to do this, I want to, there's nothing I can do, okay? If it were me, yeah, I definitely would pay off all my loans. Yeah, I'd probably splurge a little bit, maybe put a little bit on the house. I wouldn't put a huge chunk, maybe put some to make a difference. But again, I'm not married, so I don't know. So there's an update on here. Let me read the comments first. Someone said, I think not paying of her student loans is the most ridiculous thing. Probably gives her $500 or $600 more in her pocket. The mortgage may be thinking if something happens, you get half the equity. And I don't understand $10,000 on a purse, but okay with $3,000 to $4,000 on golf clubs. I don't understand what they're saying here. Did he say something about golf clubs? Someone said $500 to $600 a month will likely be 7 to 8% interest rate, which will save about $20,000 of interest if she would even pay it off in 10 years, which she's probably looking at more like 20 years with such a relaxed attitude. It's really freaking dumb to stay in debt. Someone else said she has clearly been told not to commingle inheritance funds with marital funds, wise, and responded with lavish spending plans, unwise. In my opinion, she needs to engage an investment planner to discuss these issues for her playthrough, or her playthrough is going to be way off. And that's to everyone's deficit. OP has his own problems though. He made a full plan of execution for money that's legally and ethically 100% not his, and then got surprised that there was pushback. That's all on him. Okay, I think this person is able to say what I'm trying to say concisely. It's like, yeah, you could have your ideas about how she should spend the money, but at the end of the day, this is her inheritance. So she herself has to make the best decisions. Now, we all may have some idea of the best way for her to spend it. And of course, like I said, if it were me, I wouldn't want to be in debt. At the end of the day, you have to be unattached to the outcome because it's not your money. Someone said she might not be thinking in legal terms at all. I'm thinking that OP sounds like he's an in-charge kind of guy, makes their joint decisions for them, and he contributes the most. I'm betting she knows that if she does the sensible thing, pays off debts, and puts the rest into their joint savings, she will never be allowed to splurge any of it later down the line. So she's doing it now while she's calling the shots for once. That could be. I mean, that's kind of a huge assumption, but it would make sense. Oh, okay. Somebody said, read OP's edit. He pays 3/4 of the mortgage, drives a 10-year-old car too, and shares his bonuses with his wife, and more than likely pays a majority of the bills based on what he said. Okay, I get it now. Let me read his update. Update, I've been reading your responses and I have to clear some things up. Some of you said that she shouldn't pay off our mortgage because it's her money and I would benefit from it. I make more than she does, so when we bought our house, we decided I should pay 3/4 and she pay 1/4 for the life of the mortgage. I was willing to pay more for our benefit, so I don't see how it's different from asking her to pay off the mortgage. Paying off the mortgage, that's a big jump. Maybe she can pay basically like the same that you paid so far, like, you know, so it could be come back to an equal footing, but to pay it off, I don't know, depending on the numbers, that might be a big jump. Some of you said that she should get a new car since hers is almost 10 years old. My car is about the same age and I plan to drive it until it doesn't work anymore. And just because you want to drive an old car doesn't mean she can't get a new one. So I don't agree with him on that one. He said, I invest the money I save by not buying a new car and I get a healthy return from that money. That's great, but that might not be what she wants to do. Some of you said that legally it's her money and not mine, which is true. But when I get my bonuses every year, we spend it together. I know it's legally her money too, but realistically, she's not helping me at work, and I earned that money by myself, yet I share it with her. Legality aside, we're partners in life, and I think building a stable financial situation is much more important than vacations, a purse, and a dog. So I agree and disagree with him. Like someone else said, he does seem like a little bit of a, I wouldn't say control freak, but he's very frugal and overly responsible, maybe, with the money. So I can see how now that she's finally gotten like a large sum and she can like do whatever she wants and spend on whatever she wants, she's just gonna like ball out because she's basically been in this kind of situation where they're saving every penny and she's driving this 10-year-old car and he don't want to spend extra on vacations because he want to make sure he put it in and invest and do all these things, which is great. But as I said in a previous video where there was like a similar situation, you also have to like enjoy life now. I'm not saying go crazy, but there has to be a little bit of a balance. So I understand what he's saying. I also understand what she's saying. Shoot, if I was him, I'm a little bit petty. I would probably stop sharing my bonuses at this point, because if you don't want to share your inheritance, why am I sharing my bonuses? So I would kind of expect her to like at least, you know, contribute to the partnership in some way, just because like I have been. I feel like that would be the fair thing to do. And then also like on the side, she can do whatever she wants to splurge. I wouldn't say pay off the mortgage, but definitely help in a significant way. And you would think that if she was like a true partner in the relationship, she would want to. But again, it gets complicated with the dynamics of relationships and how things have been going and the history. And yeah, it's not always so cut and dry. So here's his update. He said, this update is long, so here's my original if you want to read or skip it. I read your comments and talked to my brothers and decided to bring equality into our marriage. I sat down and went through all of our bills and receipts. I was paying 3/4 of our mortgage, 3/4 of the property tax, all of the house's maintenance costs, almost all of the groceries, almost all of anything we bought for the house, all of the utilities, including our cell phones, almost all of our activities outside of the house, including dinners and dates, and insurance for our cars. Dang! I'm not gonna lie, he was carrying a lot of the load. Dang, I would be kind of upset if like I've been doing all this and you get a little sum of money and you don't want to at least consider. I'm not saying you have to do exactly what he said to do, but at least consider. She did say he would take his ideas into account, but anyway, I paid for all of those things without a second thought before because we were partners and I make so much more than she does. I sat her down last week and showed her the total of our spending and then told her that since her financial situation has drastically changed, she is now responsible for half of it all. That started arguments like we've never had before. I argued that she can now afford to be financially responsible for half of our lives, so she should be. She responded by reminding me that her inheritance is legally hers alone and not ours, so I can figure that into our costs, while our salaries are legally ours, which is why we used them to pay for our living expenses. I think he's saying so I can't figure that into our cost. I argued that while she is legally correct, she is morally wrong, and this is how we're moving ahead as equals. We haven't spoken to each other since then, except for a few texts. Dang. We go to bed in silence and leave for work without waking each other up. She's not the woman I thought I married, and it's gotten to the point that I question our future together. I went to see an attorney and found out our state sets limits on alimony based on the length of marriage, if the other spouse is unemployed, and the separate financial state of the parties. My attorney said since we've been married for only 4 years, she works full-time, and her recent inheritance, there's an excellent chance I'll have to pay very little alimony for about 3 years, and a good chance I won't have to pay anything at all. The messy part is that we'll have to divide all of the marital assets. I haven't called my attorney back and will spend the weekend pondering my future. That sucks. Does he have any more updates? No. Dang, that was a month ago. I will say I get it. I get his point of view. I get what he's trying to say. This whole time he been paying 3/4 of this, 3/4 of that, 100% of this, 100% of that, and then she gets this sum of money. Y'all supposed to be in a partnership. Y'all supposed to be on the same page, moving toward the same goal. And she don't even want to help at least a little bit. Like, I would offer to help at least a little bit. Come to some sort of a compromise of something that you can do to try and contribute. But she sounds like she's just trying to blow everything on herself, that's kind of messed up. Especially, again, you're in a partnership and he's been sharing his bonuses with you. It should be nothing for her to put half because she has not only her full-time job, but then the inheritance. So she could still do things that she wants to do while putting half. Now, I will say it depends on how much the inheritance is, because it's not like it's it's gonna run out at some point. So you have to put kind of a cap on like how long he expects her to contribute half, because it's not just like that. I don't know. You have to like consider the calculations and the future. But that's tough. That's probably why I don't want to get married. That just seems like a lot, man. You got to consider another person all the time. I just don't know if that's in the cards for you, girl. So that's the last main read of the video. I'm gonna go to the last post, which will just be a palette cleanser, and just double check to make sure you're subscribed. And let me read this last story. This is from the malicious compliance subreddit, Stop Mowing. Okay, my neighbors rent their lower suite to their adult daughter, her partner, and their child. The daughter has main character syndrome. She has yelled at me to stop doing work outside repeatedly, called the bylaws on me for cutting my grass at 4 p.m. on a Saturday, and more. She also refuses to help her senior parents do their yard work, so I continue to cut half of their lawn and completely care for the area below their retaining wall. No biggie, it's a quarter the size of my front yard and flat. Daughter Dearest, however, has continued to scream at me anytime I pull out the mower or trimmer in my own yard. It's aggravating to say the least. At the end of May, she lost her mind for mowing the lower area of the yard and screamed at me to stop, threatening to call the police. So I did exactly that, and I stopped. Then I sent my neighbor a lovely text explaining that her daughter was clearly distressed and asked me to stop. Now, each week, I mow to the property line, no further, and that yard has gotten bad. Last week, Daughter Dearest asked me if I could start mowing their lawn again because her mom was really mad. I declined and said it's too loud and I might get in trouble. Today, she was out there manhandling a huge gas mower down 9 stairs and took 25 minutes to mow what takes me 3 minutes before struggling to get the mower back up. If it ain't the consequences of our own actions. All right, that's the last one for today. Thank you guys so much for watching.